Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is doing well. This is AngelHavenMinistry, and this is the Christian perspective on narcissism in the world today. So thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. And if you haven't liked, shared, or subscribed, please do so. It helps to get the videos out to more people. And hit the notification button too, so you can get notified when new videos come out. So thanks so much, everybody. Okay, well, today we're going to be talking about spiritual narcissists, and in particular, Christian spiritual narcissists. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have met these types. Perhaps you are married to these types, or perhaps these types were found in your church community or in your family. They can be anywhere, but there's certain signs that you need to look for and, let it be known they can be extremely toxic and dangerous. They hide under the disguise of being a Christian and attending church and joining all kinds of church organizations and functions. They could even be in the ministry. But their actions can be highly destructive, and they can be very dangerous people. And they can cause a lot of trauma, and they're capable of a lot of abuse many times. So it's very deceptive, because they're, claiming to be a Christian, but the actions don't match the words. And if there's anything that I can say, to look for as number one sign, it's that the actions do not match what they say. By their fruits ye shall know them. So that's what you need to look for, is their fruits and not what they say or what they brag about doing, or how many organizations they're running and how many services at church they attend. Those don't mean anything, because these people can be highly dangerous, highly destructive people, and very vindictive too, which is totally against the teachings of Christ. Most of their actions go against Christ, but to the outside world, their presentation to people that don't know them well is that of a holy person. Now, why do they want to do this? Why do they want to present this holy image? And why is that important to them? Well, it gives them a sense of superiority. It gives them a sense of control over other people. They get to shame other people that way. Think about it. If they're walking around pompous and holy and really feeling superior, they look down their nose at other people and shame them as far as their beliefs go and their Christianity goes and their walk with the Lord. They seem to really enjoy that, to put themselves above other people and to claim that their relationship with God or their walk with God is much better and holier and more important than other people's. They really, present someone of, spiritual authority to the people around them. But as I said, if you really were to know some of these types that are indeed spiritual, Christian-based narcissists, you'll see that their behavior was very destructive and evil to many people in the past. But they cover it up. Not too many people know about their private life or their close relationships. They just see what's presented in these church organizations and volunteer groups and feeding the homeless and what's on their resume and what's on their social media pages. Now, another thing to really look for is if somebody has to post 1 million volunteer groups on their social media profile for everybody to see, when you get the bio of the person on Facebook or something, you see, this church, that church, volunteer group, this volunteer group, feeding the homeless there, feeding the homeless there. It's almost as though they just want to brag about how holy they are and what a good person they are to people on their social media page. That's their credibility. That's their resume, so to speak. Now, if somebody's in an interview and the interviewer for a job says, "Oh, tell me about any organizations you're a member of," Well, that's perfectly fine just to mention it to somebody who's asking you, or if it's important for resume purposes or, other reasons like that, business reasons. But to just post it on your social media everywhere, and then while you're feeding the homeless, you're taking a million pictures to post on social media, or you post pictures of yourself giving $5 to a homeless person on the street and say, look at me, I just gave this homeless person $5. I mean, that's a very insecure person. That's a person who gets their ego fed and their sense of self-importance by people's reactions to those posts. They really want people to say, oh, wow, that's so nice of you. You're such a sweet person. Oh, my gosh, you do so many good things. They love that type of worship. They love that type of reaction from people that, oh, they're so nice. So if they do give someone money, if they do, loan somebody money or help a homeless person, it's not because they're generous and they have a good heart. It's because they need that reaction from the outsiders and the praise from the outsiders, praising them for what a generous, good person they are. So the reasons for their actions are not authentic. It's not because in their heart they felt compelled by the Holy Spirit to genuinely help someone in need. They don't have empathy. Remember, narcissists don't have empathy, so they're not going to feel that natural compassion to the homeless person on the street. They want to give the $5 in front of their girlfriend walking with them, so the girlfriend will think, oh, he's such a nice guy, Or so they'll join a group so they can post it on their Facebook page or on their dating profile. And then they'll even put on dating profiles pictures of themselves feeding the homeless. So the unsuspecting person looking at their dating profile is like, oh, they're so nice, But really, does an authentic person who's Christian-based, who cares about people, do they feel a need to do that? Not usually, no. For most Christians who are authentic, they naturally and organically want to help people, and they do things like that on a daily basis. They don't tell people about it. It's between them and God. It's just who they are. It's what's in their heart. And whenever the Holy Spirit compels them to do something that is a charitable action, they do it because the Holy Spirit prompted them to do it, and because they have a genuine sense of empathy, not because they're going to post it on their social media, or not because, I want my date to be impressed with me. But that's how the narcissist thinks. They do things for their own ego and, the reactions, or to gain supply from people, They use it to impress, basically, and to put themselves up high on a status ladder, So that's something to be wary of. Is it the person's natural empathy? Do they have natural empathy and that's why they're doing these things? Or is it because they want to remind people of how many charitable organizations they volunteer for so they can feel important? There's a huge difference with that. So ask yourselves that if you're wondering about somebody. They flaunt their spirituality in front of people, and as I said, they look down on other people who they feel aren't as holy as they are. And I'll give you an example. It could be where, somebody in your church organization, or it could be your spouse or something, throws up to you so many times per week that, say they go to the 7 a.m. church service, and that, they're sacrificing waking up to go to the 7 a.m. and you don't. You go to the 5 p.m. service. So therefore, they are holier than you because you don't sacrifice getting up at 5 a.m. to go to the 7 a.m. like they do. And they will remind you of something like that over and over again, of how they are holier than you. Now, does that make someone feel closer to God, or do you think that'll make somebody roll their eyeballs at that spiritual narcissist and say, right, you're so holy and I'm a heathen? People kind of have that attitude when they hear things like that. The other person, gets sick of the spiritual narcissist always bragging about their charitable events, about the money they donate. It just gets sickening after a while, and it turns people off. It turns people away from God when that's their example of a Christian to them. And they think all Christians are like that. And they're not. They present this Christian happiness all the time, like such a great person, right? So that's what wins people over. The flying monkeys and the friends of the spiritual narcissist, they don't know that person and how they are at home. Now, you know as well as I do, a narcissist does not treat their family well, or their spouse or immediate people around them that know them. They treat total strangers well. It's the opposite. You should treat the people closest to you the best, but the narcissist doesn't do that. Most narcissists treat total strangers the best, and they are highly abusive to the people closest to them. And the spiritual narcissist does the same. So many times with these volunteer organizations or church groups or whatever the spiritual narcissist is a member of, many members will look at the spiritual narcissist like, oh, they're so nice. Oh, I wish my husband was like this guy. Or the man is, looking at the woman narcissist, spiritual narcissist, saying, oh, I wish my wife was like her. She's so nice and she loves God. They idealize the person, and they think the grass is greener. They think that, the family of the spiritual narcissist is just so lucky to have them all the time. But if you were to take a peek into that spiritual narcissist's home life, you would see probably that they're a narcissist. The spiritual narcissist feels as though their church organizations will get them off the hook in court. Judges see this, attorneys see this all the time. They roll their eyeballs like, oh no, here's another one, because they will get caught perjuring themselves numerous times in court papers and perjuring themselves to the judge. They defy court orders. They defy restraining orders. They never fess up to it. They will never admit and say they perjured on court papers or that they're being dishonest. It doesn't matter if it's child support or custody visitation rights, things like that, spousal support, whatever it is. They will produce these, church organizations time and time again that are totally irrelevant. They have nothing to do with the subject, but they think, but look, all these church organizations, look at all these churches I'm a member of, and all the volunteer groups, how many homeless groups I help out. They really think that excuses them for their bad behavior. It's really something to see. So, as I said, the courts are quite used to that and dealing with these types. They kind of shake their heads and see them coming a mile away, and they usually don't pay any mind to all of that documentation about their charity work. It really doesn't sway the judges much, most times anyway. So just know that. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much it on the spiritual narcissist. So I'm curious to see if you've ever dealt with one of these types, or have known one of these types, or maybe now you're just realizing that somebody you knew is one that you weren't aware of. Let me know in the comments. Also, if you need prayer, put it in the comments below as well. And just know I always pray for you guys nightly. You're always in my prayers. And thanks again so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you would like one-on-one Christian guidance, please email me at AngelHavenMinistry@gmail.com. And I'll get back to you and give you the details on how to do that. So thanks again, everybody. I really appreciate it. Please like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel to grow and gives more people access to the information. So thanks so much, everybody. I'll see you soon. God bless.